Hello, and welcome to our Built on SailPoint series. I'm Neil Coy, Vice President of Global Delivery Services here at SailPoint. In this series, we discuss identity security cloud product extensions, tools, and processes that leverage the Atlas platform. We deep dive into our clients' security goals with an aim to defend against today's identity centric threats. Accenture has consistently achieved SailPoint's global delivery admiral status and has developed many accelerators over the years to enable their SailPoint implementations. Today, I'm excited to introduce my good friend, Dharma Padala, the Global Alliance Executive Sponsor and Digital Identity Lead at Accenture, to talk about some of those tools ranging from application onboarding to delegated administration to fast track their deployments and show real value to our joint customers. Dharma, welcome. I am excited to have you here today. How are you doing?
Good, good. Excited to be part of this discussion. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. So, we're going to dive straight in. Let me kind of pop up my first question here. As one of our largest implementation partners, you've built tools to address unique customer problems. Can you talk about your experience developing some of these unique solutions to solve your clients' business problems and recognize the value of SailPoint's Atlas platform more quickly?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. So, Neil, as you might be aware of the State of Identity report that came out, or the SailPoint released last year, it talks about the digital identity horizons. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is we want to make sure if we understand where the clients sit in their horizon journey, right? So the horizon one is where the clients do not have a strategy or a tool in place, which are mostly the greenfield customers, right? We still see a lot of them around. And then for Horizon 2 is where the client have adopted some technology, but they still rely heavily on manual processes. So these are the clients where they have homegrown solution or some legacy solution that have been there for a long time, but it doesn't scale to what the business is looking for, right? And then we have the Horizon 3, where quite a few clients are there where they adopted the new technology like SailPoint. However, they didn't really serve to the enterprise, which means they don't have all the apps onboarded, and they don't take advantage of the features that SailPoint offers, right? So that's Horizon 3. And there are clients who are in Horizon 4, which means they do have a good tool, they automate it, and they take advantage of the AI, right? So that's where you want clients to be, right? And then Horizon 5 is where they always are ahead of the game, and then they look at next gen technologies, right? So if you look at this market landscape, I think most of the clients fall under Horizon 3 or under, which means they have work to do. And most of these clients struggle to move up the chain in terms of horizons for reasons, right? And these are the reasons that we normally see why clients struggle to move up the horizon chain at the pace that they should be, but they don't. So one is they don't have a modernization strategy in place to begin with, right? So that's one. They have high operational costs, and I'll talk through that as part of our CIO journey, right? So some of the infrastructure costs that they have, some of the costs with their people, right, doing the manual processes or manually processing the tickets is high, right? So higher operational costs, and then some of these clients have gone through the migration process before. However, because of not able to cut over fully, they ended up with multiple solutions in place. So basically, rather than starting with one legacy solution, now they have two or three different IGA solutions that they're still maintaining, right? So that's a big pain point, right? That's one of the reasons why, one of the challenges they face with it. How do we help those clients, right? The other one is they don't adapt to the business needs fast enough with the tools that they have, right? And then user experience is the key thing, right? How do we make it smooth for the user? So inconsistent user experience is one of the challenges that they deal with, and then longer cycles to onboard applications so that they can take advantage of that. So if you sprinkle them across all these horizons, you will see why they're not moving up the chain where they need to be, right? The pace they need to. So if we talk about how we have helped clients, right, one of the focus for us is to make sure we build assets to address these challenges at scale. So the Gen AI assets that we have built are based on the models that we created behind the scenes using our strategy data and implementation data that we have been doing for the past 2 decades, right? We didn't load all the past 2 decades, but in the past 5 6 years, so it's relevant. We loaded all that, created the models so that we can help fast track the strategy aspect of it. So the first phase for any client is to have a good clean strategy, right, of where they need to go. So our strategy assistant will take questions. It's like a chatbot where it asks you questions to get a good sense of what your current state is, and it creates a strategy for you where it breaks down by phases, tells you what you need to focus on, what will be the key outcomes out of each phases, and then it also can translate them into requirements in the format that you need, right? So that's a strategy assistant. And our transformation assistant will help you fast track the transformation piece, which is the bigger piece of the cycle, right? How do you get the tool from A to B, right? So this is where our assistant will fast track your requirements, converts them into design document, puts a test strategy in place, generates automated test scripts, everything that you can to fast track the transformation phase. And we have this Gen AI operations assistant, which most of the clients are leveraging this operations assistant and they love it, right? The reason why they do that is they have a large number of people doing operations, doing the same manual ticketing process, right? And the incidents, right? Handling it. So what this does is, when the operations rep comes in the morning and then logs into this, it tells like what are the priority tickets they need to focus on. Not just that, it tells them how to solve them. The cool part of this is it goes into the documentation and tells like, this is the bug that I'm seeing, this is how you solve the bug, right? This is how you patch it. The only thing that's missing is automation piece, which you're working on. So basically it tells them how to do it, but it doesn't do it, right? That's the only piece. Outside of these assets, right, the other big piece is the onboarding tool, which is more of a workflow, right, which enables the app owners to put in the metadata that is necessary for onboarding their application, including the entitlement metadata, because that is a big pain point for most of the clients. They onboard these applications, but the end users don't know what they're requesting for. If they don't know, you will end up requesting weird things that is not appropriate for what you need, or you go through the manual process, call help desk to do that, right? So that's a big piece for us to give or empower the app owners to get the data that they need, right, for the IM teams to really onboard them. So the IM teams are not the bottlenecks for these applications, but rather they are just the QA portion to make sure the data is inputted the way that it should be. And then with the click of a button, it gets deployed into whichever environment it needs to be deployed, right? So
Sure.
that's a big portion. And then if we have the DevOps pipeline, we have a large number of assets, templates, and all. I can go on and on, but again, all these will bring that value, right, faster value to the clients, right, so they can take advantage of the SailPoint platform faster.
Wow, Dharma, there's a ton of information in there. I want to start with horizons. So, if you're a client and you are interested in learning where you sit on the horizon journey, one, two, three, four, and beyond, we'll go ahead and post a link in the description so you can go ahead and learn all about the horizon levels, figure out where you sit on that journey. From there, I mean, Dharma, I heard an application onboarding tool. I heard migration assessment tools so far. I heard DevOps tools, just an amazing array of IP that the Accenture team has built, which is absolutely incredible. Can you kind of dive in a little bit more around, how you're leveraging those to fast track our customers' journeys to the cloud?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that the client wants is to understand what they have in-house, right? So most of these clients, as I said, right, either have a legacy tool or a homegrown tool, or they might not have anything, which means they need to start from scratch in terms of defining the requirements, right? So some of these tools that we have, from legacy to SailPoint migration, or I could say, ISC, the first thing is to understand what they have in their technology solution, right? So these tools can be plugged into whichever production environment that they have. It's a read-only access that they need to give to this tool, which gets all the information out of the current solution they have and puts it into a business-friendly format so that the stakeholders understand what they have in place. And for most part, every time I go through this exercise, I see that whatever requirements they share has deviation from what we find in the actual solution, and that's an eye opener for most of them, right? And then we backtrack the delta, going back to the business and saying, what are these requirements, right? And then come up with a good set of, requirements that we can use for the translation, right? Once we know what they have, the next portion is the strategy, right? How do you translate that into the new solution, right? What is the right design or tweaks to the existing process that you need to make? So there's technology aspect, there's a process aspect, right? And that strategy comes into picture, right? And then the transformation assistance comes into picture, where we go in and help them do the actual plumbing, and then operational assistant, right? So if you look at the whole process, right, the success for this is to know what they have and then put a right strategy in place and use the tools to fast track, right, to migrate to ISC.
Absolutely. So obviously, you guys have seen hundreds of overall migrations. You are leading some of the largest IIQ to ISC migrations on the planet. What are the key drivers that you're seeing that are pushing clients into a cloud SaaS first implementation?
Yeah, I think one of the key things that we are seeing is in the past decade, we have been seeing a lot of IT transformations, right, going on. So again, as Accenture specializes in these transformations, the big thing is sometimes it just happens for the good, right? So they are part of the enterprise digital transformation initiative, and they just go with that flow, and then let's modernize our IGA platform, which is a good thing for all of us. So that's one. The other one is really the operational cost, right? High operational costs that they cannot sustain, right? Again, every day, the team's cost is going up, right? Everybody, the colas, right? I mean, even if you have a team of, let's say, 10 people, the cost of maintaining the team 10 years back is different from cost of maintaining the same team now, right? People grow. So the high cost of the people, the skills, the infrastructure that you need to maintain, everything is going up, right? And then, the upgrade fatigue, right? The thing is, if you have an on-prem solution or legacy solution, you have to deal with upgrades no matter whether you like it or not. Every 2 years, 3 years, you have to go through the cycle, which means you have to do the regression. And 9 years, you keep asking for money from the business without adding no new value to the solution. That's and the other key drivers are really what ISC brings to the table, right? Faster time to value. If I'm having a product that can give me features without me upgrading to get something, like, as soon as it's available, I have it in my hand that I can enable it, right? That's a bigger value for the clients, right? We're seeing that a lot. And then more importantly, the scalability and performance aspect of ISC, right, is a big enticing, aspect of what the clients need, right? Because if in the past, if you have to scale or improve performance, you have to beef up your infrastructure, which means that adds to your cost. Now you don't have to do all that stuff. You just, are not paying anything more, but you're still scaling up to what your enterprise is doing. That's a big value, right? And the last thing I would say is the skills, right? You always have this high demand of skills in the market, and it's hard to find the skills to support because your teams move on, they all grow. You still need to find the people who do the actual, hands-on work, right? You have difficulty finding the skills. Moving to a platform like ISC, you don't need a large team because you're not customizing the tool. It's just configuration. You need a small, light team to really support it. So at the head of those are the drivers that I've seen.
No, I love it. I was talking to one of the CISOs going through a migration probably about a month or two ago, and he had planned, about 18 months for his total migration, and he had gotten to 6 months, and he was completed. And all of a sudden, he was onboarding more applications than he had ever seen before. And it was one of those moments where you're just sitting there, kind of smiling and going, that's the power of SaaS, right? That's the difference between on-prem versus where we're heading in the future, whether it's, AI and everything else, kind of leverage behind there just to speed programs up. Role model projects used to cost millions of dollars a year. Now they're done in a couple of hours on a monthly basis by simply pushing a button. So interesting. All right, so let's dive into the next question. When I think about Accenture on the surface, my first, kind of thought is one of our largest implementers, hundreds of deployments all over the globe, resources wherever you need them, whether it's Identity IQ, ISC, NERM, all of these wonderful technologies that we offer here at SailPoint. You guys are kind of one of, not just one of, certainly one of, but you guys are the experts working with all of our clients to make sure that things are going smoothly. With all of those wonderful things being said, you've also been a client for years, originally leveraging one of the largest deployments of Identity IQ, and now leveraging one of the largest deployments of ISC. And you've kind of been going through that migration. You guys went live with your first set of functionality well over a year ago. So, what are the benefits you're seeing today, and how is that process moving along?
Well, yeah, as you rightly said, right, we have a complex enterprise, right? It's not just the people or identities, right? We have over 1.4 million identities, but more than that, I think the complexity, right, with over 1,500 applications that we service, right, and the kind of strict compliance stuff that we need to abide by, right? So if we have a complex solution, however, the decision to go with IAC has been a good one, right? It turned out to be good. The reason being, if I have to name a few, right, why if we think that is a good decision, moving to IAC has been a great thing for us. Is one is the scale, right? If we were obviously able to scale our solution much better than what we used to. If we used to have, and I could just to give you the sense of what the complexity is, right? We had 16 task servers, right, servicing these aggregations. Just imagine the scale of what we used to spend, right? And all of this was sitting on Azure, right? And now, after migrating to ISC, if we could, if we were able to exceed the performance of what we used to do in the past with one tenant. So that's tells the scale of what ISC brings to the table, and that's no match, right? Because that's a huge savings in cost of our infrastructure and things like that, right? The second one is the enhanced security with all the IAC's advanced security features. One of the things we did differently here is the service accounts that we use to connect to all these target applications. We directly get it from the vault. We don't hard code the passwords. Some of these advanced security features that come with IAC, we tapped into all of that to make sure we are in a much better spot than where we used to be, right? And we have less audit findings as part of our scans and things like that, right? Now, the third one is the simplified compliance, again, giving the real-time reporting. So if we have some of the stringent audit requirements, right? I can't, say more about in terms of the complexity of what our audit teams ask, right? So we have our own BI tools that we have created, and the Atlas data model that Atlas platform gives is something that we have been using to provide this real-time reporting, right? And this data model aggregates data not just from ISC in terms of the user event, but it also aggregates data from other entities that we integrate with, and then the reports run aggregating all this stuff, right? So that's a big value for us because in the past we have spent a lot of money and time to just maintain these reports, right? Now, the operational efficiencies are a big thing that came out of this. Obviously, I just told you about the servers, right? 16 task servers and then 8 UI servers, right? We got rid of all that stuff, so that's a huge win for us, right? And then ISC, with the way that it is framed, right? It's more of a configurable product. It's not a customized product, right? It's not intended to be customized, right? So we got rid of all that stuff that we don't have to deal with, right? We had huge army of people, right, maintaining the old solution. Now it's much lesser team to maintain this. That's a big value for us, right? So I think at the high level, those are the high level things that I can say, right? And we are so obviously we have a lot of value out of ISC and we're happy with it.
No, I love it. One of my favorite stats coming out of this project was around aggregation times. You guys have millions of identities. You were aggregating, kind of some of your main targets in the 15-minute time frame. Uh, as I recall, we cut that down as between our two teams working together from 15 minutes all the way down to something like 7 from an aggregation time, which was just incredible. But I'll tell you, my favorite part of that story was the lead on your side. I'm going to share his name. I hope it's okay. But on the client side, so obviously you're the lead on kind of the implementation side. Lead on I'll call it the CIO side is Vinod, and Vinod came to us and said, "Hey, we need to make this even faster," and recommended a couple of interesting tweaks that we went ahead and tried on our side, and ultimately it led to a 7 minute aggregation time, which is just mind blowing. I don't know. I get excited when I see folks migrating across and seeing some of these metrics just half right in terms of time to value and how often they can run activities. So that one was cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
I want to add a little bit to that so
Please.
the audience understand the scale, right? So in IIQ, we had all the jobs running neck on neck, right, throughout the 24 hours, and we had to run all of them successfully for us to really manage the life cycle events the way that we are supposed to, right? But if we had no room for some of these to go beyond, right? Now, once we translate into ISC with the multi-threaded concept that was introduced with this, where I can run aggregations in parallel and it does it, you know we have a lot more time that we now have gained out of those 24 hours, so we can do more than what we could do, right?
Sure.
And with not just the performance, like you said, right, reducing the times, but now we have flexibility, right? Even if some things, like we have those peak times during certain times of a year where if you have a lot of reorgs coming up, right, where the people get promoted and things like that, so if we have a lot of records that come in during those peak times, right? Which means we have to flush them down into Active Directory and Azure as well, so that they can get the right access adjustment that are needed. So with this, it gave us flexibility to make sure that those kind of cycles doesn't have to be very difficult for us, because those cycles costed a lot of maintenance overhead, right, in the past. But now this gave us flexibility to handle them much reasonably.
I love it. It's been absolutely, just kind of a banner project. I hope everybody and all of our clients get an opportunity to pop into Compass and see some of the details that came out of SCO, and then obviously reach out to your team if they want additional details. But, kind of deep diving into your actual migration, can you talk about how you approach the migration effort internally? Built some of those efficiencies into your operating model, established some of the roles, responsibilities, and obviously doing all of that alongside, the SailPoint professional services team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I said, right, we have one of the complex solutions right in hand. And again, our approach to migration was to minimize or have no disruption to the business. We cannot afford any disruptions. I've been saying that again and again, right? Because that was a primary motto, right? And how did we do that? I think there are, three key principles that we aligned with. One is our governance frame that we created, where we have our team focus on the core aspects of the implementation, which means being the liaison to the business to make sure that we gather the necessary, requirements in terms of not just taking what's there in IIQ, if we want to modernize them or make them simpler, right? So that was our primary goal, right? So we have been the liaison, and as we put the design together, we were working closely with SailPoint PS to make sure that they validate our design, to make sure that we align with the best practice. And as much as we know the best practices, I think SailPoint PS is closer to the product than us, no matter what, whether people agree it or not. But the point is, they putting their hat on in terms of being close to the product, gave us a lot of advices to make sure that we don't do something that causes a tech debt later on, right? So that has been a big value for us, right? And in terms of testing automation, all that stuff wherever possible, we have been doing automation in the past, but then we tweaked it to make sure that we fast track that and build efficiencies to it, right? So that's one. Now, the communication is key, right? We wanted to make sure that our business knows what we are doing on a regular basis, and then we are aligned with SailPoint as well, right? We have a bi-weekly steer course where our team closely gets connected with SailPoint leadership to make sure everybody understands where we are with the current solution, and if we need to make any tweaks or adjustments or some help that we need to pull from the product team, they are there to help us, right? So if we made sure that everybody knows what's going on and what needs to be done, tactically, so that we can focus, right, and align with our strategic goal, right? Now the third one, which is a key piece, which is change management, right? As I said, we have been tweaking the process to make sure that we have better processes in place as we move to ISC. And this is the key thing, right? How do we make sure that there is minimum friction as we put in these new processes, right? As we put in ISC, so the users don't even experience any change. For that, for all the users that we use ServiceNow as the front end, so nothing changes from their point of view. We made it as simple as possible for them so that they can still, request the same way that they are. However, there's one key use case that we have, Neil, you know this, right? Multi-dimensional roles, which is one of the things that, in the when we evaluated ISC, that was a function that was lacking in ISC that did not support. And again, it's a custom function or a use case that we had. But when we brought it to SailPoint, I have to say that when you guys evaluated the use case, and then when you looked at other clients who might be able to benefit from that, once you understood that that's a value add that could help others, you brought in your product team and committed to some of doing this stuff and fast tracking it, right? So you did release it last a couple of months back, the dynamic access role model. That is a big value for us, right? And that's a big differentiation, right? By using your PS along with us to fast track those kind of things is invaluable for us.
Certainly appreciate it. And look, the partnership back and forth has been great. It's been really fun to watch us, build together things like multi-dimensional roles or dynamic access roles, as it wound up being named when we GA'd the product. That alone, I think we've got 2-3 dozen clients who are already, starting to dive into it, understand what it is, figure out how to bring it in. I certainly think, whether you're in consulting, healthcare, lots of other spaces, it's just going to take off. I mean, just seeing how we turn one, role, right, that used to be 1,000, right? Now we just, hey, if you're a hospital, you walk in and you say, I would like to give the access of nurse practitioner one to this resource. I got to answer a couple of questions. It's off to the races. That used to be, I have to find this one little role amongst 1,000, needle in a haystack situation. So much easier, and certainly from just a client perspective, a whole lot easier from a change management perspective, as well as just from a day-to-day practicality perspective, managing all the way through. So huge kudos to your team for helping us get there and figuring out all of the pieces and parts, and of course for being customer number one on that one and having to go through all the testing. It's been fun to watch. So, obviously, we're here to talk about Atlas and the Atlas platform that, all of our products sit on top of. So, I want to deep dive into that side for a second. What are some of the technologies and frameworks you have been able to take advantage of with SailPoint's Atlas platform as the foundation for your internal or maybe even some of your clients' migrations to Identity Security Cloud? And how did this help address identity related challenges?
Yeah, I think Atlas platform has been a great value add, right, for us internally as customer zero as well as at our clients, right? So if I have to name a few of the areas, right, that we tapped into as part of the Atlas platform is obviously the data model I spoke about earlier, where our reporting requirements are some of the complex ones that we have, and Atlas provided us a way to aggregate all the data in so that we can have some complex custom reports, right? So that data model is a big aspect of what we use, right? The extensibility is another area that we have used a lot, which is, as I said, right, we have ServiceNow as the front end for the users, right? We want to make sure that that doesn't change, right? With the multi-dimensional role thing that we just spoke about, right? The users are going to have the same experience when they're requesting it, right? How do you make it, seamless so that the ISC can do its thing, right? Once the request is submitted, right? How does it go and invoke the API to make sure that ISC can process the role provisioning or updates or deprovisioning, whatever that be, right? To make sure that that happens. So we use that extensibility piece a lot. And the third one is the event-driven orchestration. I guess a lot of clients use this portion of it. How do you trigger your lifecycle events, right? Trigger, external workflows such as your LMS systems, right? Most of our clients have mandatory trainings that need to be triggered when things happen, right? With an IAC, a lifecycle event happens, right? How do you trigger that from an IAC component right, to the external system? So that's an area I've seen a lot of clients use, right? And personal insights and reporting is another space that I've seen a lot of clients use. We don't use a lot of that, but again, I think I've seen a lot of clients use the personal insights and reporting aspect of it. But overall, I think the way that SailPoint has designed the platform helps clients not just look at it as an IGA, solution in the sense like just like as a governance solution there for access, certification, things like that, but broadly, right? It opened up doors for you to integrate your enterprise business process right into the system so that you can track an identity from where it's originating. I would call it sunrising an identity and then going through the life cycle throughout the day, right, as they move and all, and then to the sunset, right? So how do you get visibility? And I look at it from IAM perspective, the digital identity perspective, right? It's not just a governance piece. Like how do you, give the access, right? How do you, acquire the access? How do you exercise the access, which is the authentication, authorization portion of it? And how do you make sure you sunset it as well, right? So you track it and audit it. So basically, it's not about just giving the access and managing the access. It's about how do you, control how it's being used in the system, right? How do you identify if there are misuse of that access, right? Outside of this, and that's where the AI portion of the tool comes into picture, right? How do you give that visibility to your enterprise or to the client to say this is a high risk access that you might want to vault it, or you might want to make sure you have additional approvals to it, right? All that aspects of AI that is bought in with this has been very valuable for our clients.
I love it. So, what's next for your future developments? Let's call them enhancements that may be in the roadmap on your side. How do you see the extensibility and data model of the SailPoint Atlas platform helping to achieve these to continue building solutions for your clients?
So Accenture has built. I spoke about a lot of accelerators we built. Right, we built all these GenAI assistants for strategy, for transformation, for operations. Now, GenAI only takes us so far, right? It's only can speed up to tell us what needs to be done or give us a document or tell us steps to do it, but it doesn't do it, right? Now, there is an aspect of automation that we built with the DevOps pipeline and some of the RPA tools that we have. But what we are looking to do is bring these two together so that we can, do things automatically end to end, right? We don't talk about things or tell what to do and have somebody else take it and do it. Like, how do we combine these two together so that we can fast track this automation using the AI capabilities, right? Not just GenAI models that we have created. So that's one aspect. The other one we are looking at is we want to become the de facto service provider for any migrations or transformations period, right? Because we do a lot of these large IT transformations and tech security transformations, and I think it's easy for us to bake in this, IGA transformations into that, because this is just a small portion of that larger transformation, right? So we want to the de facto, provider for that. And more importantly, if we want to leverage our managed services provider framework that we have with SailPoint, right, where when we are trying to help the clients, we want to make sure the client focuses on the business value, right? What business is asking. They don't have to worry about how they need to modernize or how to, maintain the solution. We can take care of all that stuff. So what we want to do is use the MSP to make sure that we translate or run the shop for them, right? Migrate, modernize, run the shop for them, and make sure we serve the business while they prioritize what business needs, right? That they need to, serve, right? So so again, I mean, changing from just an implementer, but running the shop for the clients, right?
Well, I can certainly say you are in a very unique position, being that, obviously one of our top delivery admiral partners, but also leading one of the largest internal deployments of, identity security cloud on the planet, going through that migration. It's been amazing to be part of and watch you guys be so successful. So if you're a client who's looking to learn more about migration, some of the tooling that Accenture has come across, either reach out to whoever your local rep is or reach out to Dharma. With that being said, Dharma, love having you on the show. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day and talk soon.